So this is a summary of all of the alternatives that we ran through benefit cost analysis. And as I said, some of them kind of jump out at you because they're greater than 1. It's likely that these could be funded if there was agreement around them and they could be pursued further. Other are close to 1, and with maybe some enhancement or further investigation, they can be brought up closer to 1. Others, even though they don't approach 1, if it's a bridge replacement or a project that maybe that would be funded through some other source, may be worth investigating further, or when a bridge is due for replacement. This is kind of a summary of what I went over and recommendations. I won't read them all, but in addition to some of the changes to bridges or changes to the channel that I described, there's also individual flood proofing that could take place to help people in floods. There is anchoring or elevating of appliances in homes, oil tanks, and elevation of homes, although that's not permitted within the floodway. If you're in the 100-year floodplain but not in the floodway, then elevation of homes can be considered, and voluntary relocations. Our next step here going forward is to present the information that we did here tonight and also last Monday in Phoenicia to the town board, and to finalize our LFA report, which would then be adopted by the town. And then those recommendations could be used to pursue funding opportunities and to continue the dialogue here in the community. This is my last slide. I like this photo from the Catskill Mountain Times. It was John Burroughs, who's a well-known area naturalist fishing in Esopus Creek. So I put that up there as our last slide. So if anybody has additional questions or anything they want to ask.
So the work that was done between Catskill Hills and Chisholm, did that work over there on Beaver Hill?
I've seen the work. Eric, do you know that project?
Well, that wasn't done according to this plan.
No, that's not what that was just...
But they widened everything and did what it's talking about.
Yes.
In doing your projections and analyses, you talked about a 100-year flood scenario.
Right.
In looking at that as your benchmark, did you consider the effects of global warming and the fact that storms are intensifying, that the global warming models indicate that the Northeast is probably going to get wetter? So I'm wondering if that was part of your calculation.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's depending on the type of study you're doing, it may be something to try and account for, although it's hard to account for, and other times not. What we use here is the FEMA projected 100-year flows and lesser flows, which are based on past gauge data, so it does not project into the future. And you are correct, we have been seeing gradual increase in overall annual rainfall and also more intense flood events. So
we are doing a similar flood study where we actually ran both sets of numbers.
Right.
And in that community, they are actually going to be petitioning FEMA for complete physical map revision because in their situation, FEMA's modeling was done in the 1970s and it's way over-exaggerated. We're flooding in, so there are a lot of people paying flood insurance who are really legitimately not in the floodplain. They are because it's not floodplain. But in that case, we looked at FEMA hydrology, we looked at the rainfall data that's been used by NRCS and everyone for decades and decades and decades, and then we looked at the new global warming kind of forecasted, and it's quite a difference.
yeah. In some cases also, we could look at 100 years of gauge data and run statistics and say, here's the 100-year flood, but then we look at only 30 years, and sometimes what we see is the 100-year flood is higher. So those are all important considerations. I did, just before I forget, you mentioned flood insurance, and I meant to mention that because the benefit cost analysis does not take into account the cost of flood insurance to people who live in the floodplain. And that cost is going up as you have flood insurance, you're aware of that. And when, through implementing some flood reduction strategies, there's the potential to reduce, if you reduce the amount of flooding relative to your first floor, you could reduce your flood insurance rate. So that's a benefit that's not really reflected in our benefit cost analysis. I just wanted to mention that since someone mentioned flood insurance.
The whole BCA process is very prescribed by FEMA. You have to follow certain rules, and they don't allow you to consider that. And I don't know why, because it really is a tremendous amount of money, especially when you look at it over 50 years and sometimes hundreds of houses.
Right.
And if your property is predicted to flood by 6 feet of water, you will pay a whole lot more insurance premium than a house that's predicted to flood with a foot of water. So they're big, real costs.
Candace, did you have a question?
I just wanted to get back to that comment about the cost of being able to sell some of the material you were dredging. You built that into your benefit, or your cost. You subtracted out the cost, you gave some figure for selling some of that, right?
Well, the figure I came up with, I think, it's $20 a cubic yard total, which I think, you might be able to offset that a bit, but the $20 is the figure I used.
But it was built in other words, you did build in some reclamation projects that figure.
For excavation and disposal of clean material, not anything with chemicals, it's not atypical to see $35 a cubic yard. So if you sort of did the math, that you get $15 a cubic yard, so it's sort of loosely in there.
It's also, it's not just getting the material. Like any project you do in the stream, you need to have a plan, and you need to have permits, and you need to dewater the section of the channel that you're working in order to comply with DC. So that's going to be a cost for any project that you do. And we figure that into our costs. Just the engineering and the design and the permitting and mobilization and all these considerations.
Forever like that, it goes for about 3 months.
But in other words, it's built into your estimate, some kind of reclamation of all of
And my understanding is, by state law, if the state or somebody removes, say, deadfall wood from the state forest, they're not allowed to sell that by state law. And should we not assume that the same is true of the gravel we removed from the state resources Sophus Creek? Is that true, Eric? Can we actually legally sell that gravel?
State wood from state land, period. If we cut a tree on state forest preserve property, we have to leave it right there. If it's a tree that's endangering the road, a dead or dying tree, we have to cut it and leave it right there. We're not allowed to remove it from state property at all.
So I'm asking you the same.
That's state law. The gravel, I've never heard of say any restrictions on gravel.
Okay.
The trees are definitely.
I don't know the answer to that, but I know we design projects that contractors.
Yeah, they won't let you mine rivers for the purpose of making money. But if a contractor comes in and you tell a contractor that they own the material that they take out, which is common, and they know they can sell it or use it on another project, they will competitively bid that way. I've never heard of a prohibition of selling.
Well, this is a state park, so there's a clear.
Yeah, but it only applies to state property within the park, not the park. And I think any of this property is in forest preserve that we're working on. Same thing in Chichester, all those large jobs that done in Chichester, a lot of material was trucked out, enormous amount was trucked in. So it was all different exchanges, you had to have the right material for the job. And that's all private property, that was a ton of landowners.
So none of that removal was actually sold. Worship with it.
Well, some of it's sort of built into the bid, like they said, they know they have to bring in 100 tons and they know they have to truck out 100 tons of clay or something like that. Clay is not allowed to be dumped near any streams within the area or something. They have to actually give us a disposal site, and that has to be approved. That's about the only thing that's not clean waste. The disposal site has to be approved.
You had a question? You had a question?
Yeah, this is all very interesting, but I'm gathering we're before sort of an environmental impact look at this. We talked about a lot of changes in the river. We've got trout unlimited, and we've got habitat.
Yeah, these are concepts, planning level concepts. If any of these projects were to move forward, they would have to go through the whole permitting process,
Environmental impact assessment.
Well, consistent with that. The one piece of that that makes it a little less tedious, we're not talking about doing a lot of work in pristine land. This is land that's been developed largely, flooded, disturbed, but absolutely any permit through Army Corps of Engineers or DEC requires us to look at a whole number of environmental factors. And if one or some of these projects were to proceed, then there's a whole design plus you permitting process that would need to take place.
Any question back there?
I was just wondering if in your modeling, you looked at the impacts of your various projects on communities downstream. I'm thinking like Boyceville, that area. Would work up here impact them adversely?
Doesn't,
Or positively.
it's the same as scenario as the bridge. It really doesn't change the volume of water, it just conveys it through the area.
We're not really talking about storing a lot of water here. It's really just giving water space. You wouldn't have an effect, or a minimal effect, if you move downstream, and certainly not down to Portsville.
I'm going to go back to these houses at the end of 212, 128 that you were just talking about. Those apparently are flooded out here, but nothing has changed with those. And if that's part of that flood plan, I mean, how long does it take? That's 4 years that was supposed to be.
Are these homes that have opted to get bought out by FEMA?
Yes, exactly.
No one's going to accuse the federal government of being really speeding. But we don't. I don't have any specific knowledge.
But that's part of that plan, right there. That would make that flood plain where you have houses. Is that part of the houses that you said would be?
There's overlap. Not all of them. Aaron knows the individual houses better than I do, but there's.
Yeah, I think there's roughly 7 parcels that are in counties, and a number of them, the majority are in that area. There's some on the other side of 28, which are part of that floodplain.
But those houses are already gone.
Well, there's some that are gone
still
for different reasons, but there's 7, I believe there's 7 that the county is in the process of buying those out. That will be made open space. It'll actually be owned by the city of New York land. That'll be open space and I think, Mark, I mean, you have that data. So you know the structures that are there, and a number of them are within that floodplain reclamation area.
I don't know exactly how many is open.
So those properties were owned by the city, and there was a project the city could.
Right, that would be part of that flood plain.
They could do what they need.
The interesting thing is that the last one is that was the same incident. So you have to wonder if it is ever going to happen.
Yeah, I know just in some of the other counties, that have started to remove some of those structures in Ulster County. You probably won't see any structures removed, unfortunately, until 2016. But it's not quick, unfortunately. Oh, well, it's all voluntary. The folks came and said there were after Irina, just broad, I think there were about 20-some homes in that area that were at least 30% damaged from the flood. And I believe 12 of them had actually submitted a letter to the county that said, I'm interested, I want more information. And so there's 7, so 5 have since dropped out for various reasons. And now there's 7 that continue to move forward through the process. So, but it's all, the people that own those homes can opt out at any time. Unless they sign the contract.
Well, I just have one question for the group. How old do you think John Burroughs is now? Because he was born in 1937. So I guess that's 1990, because I guess he's about 63. But maybe I'm wrong. But you didn't have a date on it, so
said, well, I looked up what year he was born, so there you have it.
What are the projections for time frame, given that all the ducks line up?
In part dependent upon the community. So our work will come to an end quite soon, and then it's really in the community's hands. So if there is a lot of support for one or more of these options, it would go to engineering, design, permitting, and then construction. You would think that would be in funding. You would not guess that to be any less than maybe a 2-year time frame, and probably much longer. If there's no support, if tonight you all leave and you say, you know what, this is a hard pill to swallow, we live in a very flood-prone area, you know what, I love my house, I'm not moving, I don't really want any part of this, and as a community you decide, you know what, we're just going to wait it out, then that would be then longer or not. And then, you know, Mark talked about the replacement of $15 million price tag to replace the Route 22 bridge. Well, someday it's going to have to be replaced. It's not going to be a year or two from now, but, you know, 10 or 15 or 20, and at least you can start picking away at the areas where you can have some improvement. And it's not going to be a you know,
The Route 20 bridge up at the beginning is being replaced now.
The 28 bridge by 42 is being replaced next summer. That was the biggest one paper, and closing 28 feet for a whole day in the summer because that's the least amount of traffic. That bridge is going to be 8 feet higher, and I think around 40 feet longer. The new bridge is meant to pass 100-year flood. So that helps out that little section quite a bit.
She asked who designed that. Is the state road or the DOT?
The DOT.
The county road is the county, the local road then. One of the things that's been both an opportunity and a challenge when we do these studies is to engage with DOT. To say, hey, guys, we have this information, so before you get into designing, before you hire your engineers and do your in-house work, know this. This is a community that floods, and this is a bridge that is part of the problem. You can have that dialogue early. It certainly goes a long way towards, because in the absence of that, it's very likely that the bridge could get replaced with a bridge that looks exactly like it.
Yeah.
That happens.
But when the bridge on Route 28, that's a state project, and they determine when that bridge has to be replaced.
Yeah, so just what this DOT is doing now, all their bridges, they're trying to build all their new bridges to 100-year flood, if possible. Like I said, that's a perfect example, is the one by Farmer Jones up there in 42.
Well, that's
literally
on
Is this one on the plan? I have no idea. That one up there is definitely on the plan. The one in Biggity is for 2018. That got pushed off again a couple more years. The one on Route 42 is getting replaced by the baseball field next summer. And the one over here on 212 is getting replaced just up past here. Really? It's getting replaced. What's stuff or the one right here? Let's see what's stuff. I don't know what it is in that schedule, but you know, if this flood study recommends that bridge is, if all these studies keep saying this bridge is too small and the state goes to do it, and everybody's saying, look, you know, you have a problem here, they're more likely to do it. If we find funding in combination with this, the state might just push it up a little. Who knows? You know, it's up to the DOT. Yep.
You're going to go up another 8 feet. It's going to be up 8 feet over my roof.
That's, I mean, the DOT does it, the DOT wants to do it. I didn't think they're doing by Jones, it's going to be, the building is going to be down the hole under the bridge. But you gotta remember too, when you look at these bridges on 28, the bridge is the same height as 28. You look at it, the superstructure under the bridge hangs down considerably. So if you're raising the bridge up, you're not really saying, okay, more water, you're letting more water pass without hitting the structure, the bottom part of the structure. So it's allowed to pass more water. That makes the road a lot higher. And also you gotta remember there's a lot of debris in the water during the flood. There's a lot of trees and there's a lot of rock and gravel moving at the bottom. And used to design bridges for 100-year flood. 100-year flood was 7 feet. They put the bridge at 7 feet. Now they put the bridge about 2 feet higher freeboard to allow it to pass the bridge. So they build in the debris coming in now. So it looks really high and really weird, but it's just that a flood could just pass through without being clear of the bridge. Kind of like elevated concrete. This one, yeah, I know, it's on it. It's got one.
Just with some of the roof, heat of the roof of my building,
Yeah.
so this is gonna make it.
Oh, yeah. Are you on the lower side of the bridge or the other?
The 28th bridge in Long Tremper.
Yeah.
East or west?
Are you on the upper side of the bridge, before the bridge?
Up Route 212 and down to 28.
You're on the 212 side, so it should reduce the flow.
You have a question here?
Question, I just want to know why we don't remove the trees along the street that are just huge and have been carried by the flood, and they're still there, nobody moves that. If there's a new flood arrives, they will bang into the bridge again, like it happened in Felicia, and it will be a disaster again.
It's not the fact that a lot of time private property, and a lot of private property, most of them want us to do. And if we go on private property, we're recruiting private property with public money, which is illegal. And then if it's on state land, you're just not allowed to touch it, period. So that's why you try to design the bridge to pass it, with the bridge. In the meantime, we get to that.
After the flood, the CWC, Cascade Watershed Corporation, made available funds to help remove some of that debris. They have an ongoing program now that will, when there is a disaster or when the CWC board determines that there's been a significant event that has brought down debris that is threatening bridges, and there are willing landowners that are willing to apply to the CWC, they can get funding to have someone come in and remove that debris. So that is a new program being offered. There's a suite of new programs being offered through the CWC, supported by the state fund. The programs range from anything like if you're a property owner and you get flooded, and say you have a fuel tank in your backyard, it's not empty, and it constantly in a flood gets picked up and pulled away, you can get funds from CWC to get that empty, so it doesn't get pulled away. You don't need the local flood analysis recommendation for that. That's an open program. You can apply to that program. Any landowner can apply to that. So some of the funding isn't tied so directly to the local flood analysis. But there is $17 million parked through the CWC to implement some of the recommendations from these local flood analysis. Of course, they have to have a benefit cost analysis that shows that they're positive value, and they have to show that they are reducing flooding on other people's property. So there are some catches, but nonetheless, it is a new stream of funding in addition to all that funding that is available from FEMA. And your community should look at what funding is available from FEMA and from the New York Rising. After Hurricane Sandy, the state came out with money that gave people money to help them elevate their houses. Because they didn't want to leave their house and they wanted to elevate it, to get funds for that. FEMA also is making it easier for you to elevate your houses. So it's time for your community to think about these other alternatives too. That if you can't get these big projects done right away, think about and prepare yourself so that when there is another event, that you're able to submit applications to try and get these kinds of other funds to help people.
CWC is Cascade Watershed.
That's Cascade Watershed Corporation.
Yeah, I might have missed it a little bit. I live right across the street from this, on the other side of 28, and I was wondering whether or not, if I'm in a flood zone or not. I live in a rising zone house on their property. The other side of 28 on Mount Pleasant Road.
I suspect that currently you may be in special flood hazard area, 100 years, but I think with the new maps you would not be. But I can talk to you after.
Okay.
Try to help you figure that out in your address.
Certainly the flood maps. The flood maps are. Yeah, and Aaron, you could probably explain this process better than me, but I know that the town is still in the process of adopting the maps. They've been updated, they need to be vetted and critiqued, and then at some point they will be adopted by the town.
The Ulster County parcel viewer, you just Google that, see these things, Ulster County parcel viewer. you'll see it's an interactive map where you can toggle on or off, zoom to your property, type your name, and it'll zoom right to it. Toggle on or off. The preliminary, the red map, or I forget. I think you had it green. They're both green. But anyway, on the parcel view, it's red. The preliminary, and then the current effective maps will be on there too. You can toggle on and see the differences from one or the other.
It'll show you where your house is.
Well, you just turn it to the aerial background, and then you see. Yeah, you find your map.
Find if your house actually lands in it.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Pretty close.
We have one more question.
I'm not sure you understood, I thought Dorothy asked about the Mount Pleasant Bridge. And the Mount Pleasant Bridge is not as faithful.
The old bridge?
Yes, the old bridge.
That's
Yes.
scheduled.
That is scheduled? That's
They
my...
closed, they won. They're trying to find.
I know it's been closed for since 1986.
Yeah.
And it's been on the list to be removed since that time.
And so, is there anything we can do as a town, like these things that are obvious? How does the town move forward to make these things happen? Because nobody knows nothing, you know? So,
One thing that you can get the county one thing that I can tell you is that the town of Shandaken has included it as a project, not only in the New York Rising work that was done, to at least remove it and or turn it into a pedestrian bridge, but also the county is updating its hazard mitigation plan, and Shandaken is participating in that process and has listed it as an action, a mitigation action that would help. And so again, once it's in that plan and the plan's approved, then the town or the county, it's also going to be on the county's project list, can go to FEMA to try to get dollars to do it.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
Is there a way to see the Phoenicia presentation as well? I know
You can watch the whole thing on YouTube.
Yes.
It's on the town website.
You go to the town website, and there's a connection to the
Video.
and this one will be up in the next couple of
Probably
days.
Wednesday.
Just one question or comment really is about perspective is, so Irene was the flood of record, and I don't believe that was a 100-year event. In that in Mount Tremper area, maybe up in Maria and areas like that, but so you see all these models that are, Irene that's what, 75 maybe or something?
It varies greatly as you move around the test. Up on the Batavia scale and it exceeds the 500 here, we only know exactly how the gauges, right? There's a gauge up Alvin and there's a gauge at Cold Brook. But we're in between, and we have the Beaver Kill coming in, the Stony Clove, so I don't know exactly what it was, but it's greater than the 50, it's less than the 100, it's somewhere 70, 80 range.
I think we were affected mostly by the Route 28 bridge.
It certainly is a factor, but you're right, so we have not seen 100-year flood.
Is anything happening until something happens in terms of any of this planning to help the residents of the Mount Tremper area? For instance, all of that, the levee was never repaired after the flood. It wasn't repaired in front of my house. I paid for it to be repaired, but obviously nobody engineered it, nobody looked at it, nobody came to see it.
The Army Corps levy, I did see the DEC out inspecting the Army Corps levy about 5 days after the flood, but what they did,
They did nothing, I can tell you.
well, I don't know what they did, I know that they were out there, but
Right.
beyond that.
Well, I know that I repaired it, and it wasn't repaired to any particular standards. I just needed to get my house back up, so, and no one's come since then, so.
What's it considered? The berm. It's a berm.
Okay, berm levee, whatever, it used to be maintained by the Army Corps of Engineers, and everybody walked away.
Well, the Army Corps, when they typically build a project, they say somebody else's responsibility after they're done building it. So they say it's either the state or the community has to take responsibility. Army Corps will never take responsibility.
Nobody's taking responsibility.
That was given to the DEC as responsibility.
Yes, I know.
Did some repair on the upper end. Some.
I think this bid all gets a little too much money.
I mean, you were involved with the.
Oh, yeah,